Buongiorno. How is everyone out there today? Haven't shaved yet, looking a little disheveled. Be quiet, no judgment. Today I decided to address in my video blog series kind of my path to becoming a voice teacher. How did I end up being a vocal coach? Well, I have to say, I think a part of me as a kid always knew that there was a teacher in me. I just didn't know then how it was going to manifest. I didn't begin my own vocal training until rather late. I did not sing in my middle school choir nor my high school choir for fear that I sucked as a singer. And I was sorely afraid that people were going to hear me sing and tell me that I sucked. So, though I was singing in my church choir and was directing and all that kind of thing, I wouldn't sing in those choirs in school. So I missed out on some formal training there. So, after I decided I was going to change my major, because I started college as a nursing major, I decided in my third year I was going to switch and become a music major. Originally, I thought I was going to be a piano major, in fact. A lot of folks don't know that. I originally was starting off as a piano major. And after singing in a concert in like 92, which is being conducted by a guy named Philip Welch, who was working on his doctorate at Northwestern, he heard me sing, and he told me that we were doing Bach's Wacket auf in German. I had never sung any classical music before. I was like 23, maybe 22, 23, and I had never sung any classical music ever before. So I had to learn the bass part. I had to sing the bass part in the choir, and I was the only one. And so he told me, that I had very strong musical instincts, and that he suggested that I pursue, training my voice and pursue singing. So I ended up deciding that I was going to become a vocal major. During that time, I was the substitute teacher in public schools in like Hammond, Indiana, and there were a couple of books that really kind of sparked my interest in vocal pedagogy and wanting others to learn about singing. And those books were The Rock and Roll Singer Survival Manual by Mark Baxter and Singing for the Stars by Seth Riggs. Mark Baxter is a wonderful voice teacher originally I think from the East Coast, yeah. And he wrote this fantastic book, which he wrote so that non-classical singers could finally get some written material that was in-depth, but that wasn't overwhelming. It didn't feel too stiff and too elitist like some of the classical materials could be. And in this book, he really broke down the physical process of singing, the anatomy of the vocal instrument, the physiology of the vocal instrument. And that really clicked for me because I had always had a big love for anatomy, physiology. Again, I was going to be in the the health sciences, so that part of science always really interested me. And so what I saw in that book was there was this marriage between what I love to do in terms of singing as a singer, and then the technical part, which kind of tied into the science part of me. So I started to realize upon reading this book that, wow, I think even though I at that point still hadn't even started any vocal training myself, that was still another year or so down the line, that I wanted to be able to share that knowledge with people and help them learn how to sing, because I wish that I had gotten some of that, some kind of way, at church or whatever, so that I would have felt more secure in my instrument, because I would have known better how it worked, how to warm it up, how to approach it. So that book really kind of spurred that interest for me. And then I read Singing for the Stars by Seth Riggs. Now, Seth Riggs is one of the most successful voice teachers in the business right now. He has been the teacher to Michael Jackson. He was Michael Jackson's only voice teacher. He's been Stevie Wonder's only voice teacher. He taught Prince. He's taught people such as Angela Winbush, Howard Hewitt, the Pointer Sisters. He's worked with Tina Turner. He's worked with Cher. He's worked with Kelly Clarkson. He's worked with folks on the operatic stage. He's worked with folks on the musical theater stage. And he's just been a huge influence on my teaching. And I bought his book, and again, it resonated with me the way that Mark Baxter's book did, in that I loved his passion for it. You could see that he's very passionate about helping people understand the voice because of his own frustrations, you know, earlier on in his training. And to see the effect he was having, you know, within the entertainment industry with all these singers that I, you know, respected and looked up to, that he had a hand in helping them get a handle on their instrument. So again, I loved the fact that it was piquing my interest in terms of the scientific part, the technical part, that, you know, then marries itself with my passion for singing. So once I got to college, a couple years later, I started at Columbia College Chicago in the spring semester of 1995, and I was blessed to walk right into the Techniques in Singing class of Dr. Brad Nitschke. Incredible teacher, and he immediately saw something in me. And early on, you know, pretty early on in my training with him, he kind of had a feeling that I was going to end up teaching voice. So in his teaching me as a singer, he was also training me as a teacher, because watching him in that class setting, you know, even before I started my private lessons with him, watching him in that class setting was so inspiring. And watching him being able to diagnose voices and their issues really quickly and coming up with, you know, the right exercises to get them to the right place just was like, wow, this is incredible. I want to be able to do this. So he saw that in me, and he really nurtured not only Earl the singer and the artist, but Earl the voice teacher as well. And then around 2000, I was beginning to look for another teacher, and I specifically wanted a teacher who knew speech level singing, which was the technique that Seth Riggs taught. And I contacted him and got information back that he in fact had a certified teacher of his technique in Chicago by the name of Randy Bisher. And I waited almost a year before I called Randy, because I had been with my previous teacher Brad for so long. You know, breaking from him was hard to do, but I felt like it was time. I had reached a plateau, and it was time to go to the next level, and I really did want to get more into this speech level singing technique. So I finally called Randy in like the spring of 2001, and I was almost a year into my grad program at Vanderbilt College of Music, getting my Master's of Music Ed with certification. And I called Randy. We set up a lesson for early June. Matter of fact, it was right before my birthday, I believe. And the first lesson, I was just blown away. I had a 45-minute lesson, and in that first lesson, Randy just heard me vocalize a little bit at the beginning, and just could spotlight where my issues were right away. I was blown away. In my very next lesson, my second lesson with him, he said to me, he knew that I was a music teacher in schools, but he didn't know that I actually had already been teaching voice for about 4 years at that point, I believe. 3 or 4 years. And so he said to me in my second lesson, he goes, you know, I got a feeling you're going to end up being a voice teacher, and a very good one. So in my training you, I'm going to not just be training Earl the singer, but I'm going to be training Earl the teacher. And that was incredible. And out of that, my teaching as well as my singing was revolutionized. My teaching became much more efficient, much more effective. I knew I had a stronger grasp on why we use certain exercises and what sequences, and how to diagnose vocal faults, and how to easily guide, you know, a student toward the vocal freedom. And one of the important things I learned from him is that less is more. That a lot of times, a lot of our singing issues come from trying to manipulate too much. And when we pull back a little bit and get the voice working in a really less labored way, we actually start to build the power of the voice, because I finally realized that vocal power really is vocal freedom. So from Randy, I learned that, and those next 8 years were incredible. I learned so much, both, again, as a singer and as a teacher. And again, Randy saw that in me, and he started to have me sub for him in his studio. And then I became an associate with his studio. So that was just a great learning experience. And I just kept thirsting for knowledge. So I would love to read books on vocal pedagogy. I am an admitted vocal pedagogy geek. I love that stuff. I love learning more and more about the science behind the voice, so that as a teacher, I have a better grasp of what's really going on in here, so I can help get that over to my students in a way that's easy to explain, easy to demonstrate, and they can get a grasp of it. I don't have to give them all the pedagogical mumbo jumbo, unless they're one of those folks like me who really is interested in it. But you know, I can distill that information to them in a way that they can really grasp it and make it a part of their instrument. And so over the years, I've just continued to just thirst for learning more and more. And I think that as teachers, we have to continue being students. We have to continue to want to learn more about the instrument, learn better pedagogy. How do we better communicate these issues to our students? Now in 2012, you know, I'm now sharing my information via my videos and my blog articles, and I'm preparing a vocal training program for next year called Training the Vocal Athlete. That is the tentative title. I'm right now a member of the International Voice Teachers of Mix, which is a great organization of teachers who, you know, bring together their varied experiences, but we have a common goal in sharing what we have learned works well for students, and we're trying to get from each other other helpful ideas and tips on how to better communicate healthy singing to our students. I love what I do. I absolutely love helping people learn more about their instrument, because it doesn't just benefit them musically. I find that it benefits them as people. They have more confidence. They feel like they've been able to overcome certain hurdles, so they find more and more of their, you know, their strength that they have. It's just a wonderful blessing to do what I do. And if, you know, you're one of those folk out there who may want to do this, find the best teachers you can to study with. Find a teacher who's got a passion for teaching, so that you can learn from them not just how to improve your own voice, but you're going to learn tips from them that are good pedagogical principles that you can apply to other people other than yourself if you decide you want to teach. Read all you can. Hook up with good organizations of teachers so that you can share information. You know, with the internet, there's a lot of stuff out there. Some good, some not so great. There's some real garbage out there, you know, in the name of vocal pedagogy. But search out the good stuff. Read a lot, watch a lot, ask a lot of questions, network with other great teachers, apprentice with other great teachers. Learn. The best teachers keep learning. You never stop, because there's always more that science is giving us to help us be more clear and more accurate in our terminology, in our exercises, in the way we apply the exercises and the technique to our singers, so that they can do the styles that they want to do effectively, but in a healthy way. So that's my pontification on becoming a voice teacher and kind of my path. And I hope that those of you out there who are serious about it, that you will take up the mantle and keep good, healthy singing alive by committing yourself to helping other people learn all they can about good singing. All right, so that's enough of my just talking on and on. So I'm going to go now. Bye.